scientific death.
In May 1953, Royal Air Force mechanic Ronald Madison walked into the top-secret facility Porton Down, and the heavy steel door sealed behind him. Inside the testing chamber, scientists strapped 2 small pieces of military uniform cloth to his left forearm. Then they carefully applied a single, meticulously measured drop of a clear liquid onto the fabric. Within 45 minutes of that single drop touching the cloth, Ronald Madison was dead. Madison died in a routine scientific experiment, killed by the same democratic government he had sworn to serve. At the end of the Second World War, Allied forces discovered massive Nazi stockpiles of a terrifying new class of weapon, highly lethal, previously unknown nerve agents like sarin and taboon. The discovery sparked immediate panic among Western governments. They realized their own chemical defenses were lagging behind, and they suspected the Soviet Union was already stockpiling these exact same chemicals. The text on this page shows how the United States was simultaneously and secretly injecting its own citizens with radioactive isotopes to establish safety baselines. Families were told their loved ones were receiving an unknown mixture for their health. Back in the UK, at Porton Down, researchers faced a grim calculation. They needed to know precisely how sarin affected the human body, and animal models couldn't provide accurate enough data. They needed human subjects. The urgent military drive to prepare for a mass casualty war was now on a direct collision course with the core requirements of medical ethics. These scientists were not operating in an era before ethical rules. English law had required physicians to obtain informed consent from their patients since 1830. The rules surrounding experimental research were clarified in a 1933 Treasury solicitor ruling. It stated that any human trial required full consent and a complete, honest explanation of all risks involved. Right after World War II, the Nuremberg trials saw British and Allied prosecutors explicitly criminalize Nazi medical atrocities. These proceedings helped establish the Nuremberg Code, making the voluntary consent of the human subject essential. Porton Down researchers ignored these globally recognized and British-endorsed legal codes, choosing to operate outside of them. To get the subjects they needed, the military relied on deception. Young servicemen were lured to Porton Down with promises of extra leave and a few extra shillings, told they were testing clothing or helping find a cure for the common cold. Recruiting materials falsely promised no risk. By lying about the dangers, the scientists intentionally stripped these men of their ability to give informed consent. This timeline plots escalating sarin dosages in early 1953, spiking at the Kelly incident. After a 300 milligram exposure, volunteer Kelly fell into a coma. Instead of halting the program, scientists made a minor adjustment, dropping the dose to 200 milligrams, still a highly toxic amount. The institutional focus on data over human life made a fatal disaster mathematically certain. That disaster arrived on the morning of May 6th. Ronald Madison and 5 others were led into the testing chamber wearing gas masks. At 10:17 a.m., pure sarin was applied to the cloth on his arm. 23 minutes later, Madison complained of feeling strange and began sweating profusely. His heavy gas mask was removed, but within minutes he said he could not hear and collapsed unconscious. He was rushed to the medical center gasping for air. His skin turned an ashen gray, and his pulse vanished. Doctors pumped him with oxygen and atropine, culminating in a last resort injection of adrenaline directly into his heart. The resuscitation failed. At 1:30 p.m., Ronald Madison was pronounced dead. Madison survived the Second World War as a child, only to be killed as an adult by the secret disregard of his own government. The state's immediate reaction was a coordinated cover-up. Officials told Prime Minister Winston Churchill the fatal nerve gas trial was an exceedingly mild test. The deception carried into the House of Commons. The Ministry of Supply formally assured Parliament that volunteers were fully informed and faced no danger, despite one man being dead and another having barely survived a coma. Behind closed doors, the Treasury solicitor privately warned the government they were legally liable. He pointed out that claiming there was no danger in testing legal nerve agents was a blatant misstatement. Instead of stopping the human trials, the government quietly rewrote the recruitment posters, using vaguer language to protect the state from future lawsuits. In the aftermath, the state's primary concern was strict containment of legal and public relations fallout. treating the ethical violation as a liability to be managed. It took 51 years for the truth to be officially recognized. In 2004, the original secret ruling surrounding the death was finally challenged in open court. After a 64-day trial, the jury reached a historic conclusion. They officially declared that Ronald Madison was unlawfully killed by the British state. Madison's death revealed a broader pattern of Cold War paranoia, one that saw citizens on both sides of the Atlantic sacrificed to military research. In a desperate rush to protect democracy from external threats, Western governments secretly abandoned the very human rights they claimed to be defending.